Hello, this is a continuing series on the evolution of the Swiss soldier knife, and today we're going to be looking at the model 1908. I have an example there laid out on a chart that just kind of shows you where it falls in the different major models of the knife. The model 1908 was the second longest running model of the Swiss soldier knife. It ran until 1950, and it actually had up to 20 different manufacturers, mostly Swiss, some German. I used to think that all the manufacturers of these knives were either Victorinox or Wenger, but the model 1890 and the model 1908 had a lot of different manufacturers, so you'll find a lot of different tang stamps, and I guess you could have a collection of just either one of these models and try to collect the different tang stamps. That might be interesting. This is a fairly similar to the model 1908. It's the same length, 100 millimeters. It is lighter. I think it's like 125 grams versus the original model, which was 144 grams. That's because it's a little thinner and the tools were downsized a little bit. And of course it uses this reddish brown wood fiber scale. The model 1890 started off with wood scales, oak treated with rapeseed oil that made them black, or ebony. That's why they kind of called the black handled knives. But that didn't hold up well. It cracked and split. So they actually in 1901, even on that model, went to these wood fiber scales. You can see this one has a Waffen control mark, of course, and it's down at this end of the knife. On this model, the Waffen control symbol started off as a simple Swiss cross in a circle, but it was redesigned in 1915, and they put the WK inside of the cross. And that Waffen control symbol style is stayed in effect until 1977, and then it was on the ALOX models, and then it was redesigned and moved to make room for the Swiss coat of arms on those knives, and then finally just dropped in 1988 altogether. So that's a nice identifying mark on these knives. The blades and the tools are carbon steel on these knives, and so as I said, you're usually going to find them with some corrosion, rust, see that they've been cleaned or polished. This one's in pretty good shape. And I'll get this up here so you can take a look at the... one other thing about the blade while we're talking about that. On the model 1908, they went to this clip style blade, whereas up until then it had been a spear point blade. And then, they switched back to a spear point blade in the 1951 model. So only in the 1908 models they have this clip point blade, which is kind of interesting. As I mentioned, there's a lot of different tang stamps, because there were so many different manufacturers. This one, and forgive me, I can't see very well, and I don't know if that's in focus, but this one is an Elsener Suisse, which is Victorinox. Carl with a K, Elsener, founded the company with his mother Victoria, and so Elsener. And then Suisse is the canton in Switzerland, where the town of Ibach is, where they make the Victorinox Swiss knives. And since from 1921 on, they have put a 2-digit date stamp on their knives, and this one, if you can see that, is from 1948. That practice continues up until today, so it's nice. You can, from 1921 on, you can date these knives to the year. One other thing you might see on these model knives, you might see, instead of a date, you might see a P. What that is, that means private. That stands for private, and that was a civilian issue. So if you want one that was actually accepted into the Swiss Armory and intended for or used by a soldier, don't get one that just has a P on it. Now there are some that have a P and a date, And it's my understanding that those were actually, issued and used by a soldier, and then when he left service, if he wanted to keep it privately as his knife, they went back and stamped the P in front of the date. Let's take a look at some of the other tools. They're very similar. The rest of the tools are very similar to the 1890 model. Here's your screwdriver. It's just pretty plain Jane, no indentation or cap lift or anything like that. That was used to help take down and reassemble their rifles. It's got the original old style can opener, and I've never used this. I'd be foolish to use it. I might break it or something, but my understanding is this is a sideways kind of can opener. You'd have your can here and you jam it in the side with this lip down, and you work it around the front like that, and you actually take off the top of the can from the side of the can. Here's the awl. Again, it's very similar to the 1890 model, and these are robust tools. You can tell, they're sharp too. You could do a lot with that awl. I talked about, I think, the rarity of these, or maybe I haven't, but they're kind of common. Common for Swiss soldier knives, because every able-bodied male in Switzerland goes into the army, and they're all issued a knife. So between 1908 and 1950, they all got one of these knives. But they're a little harder to find in good condition because of the composition of the steel. So that's it. That's pretty much an overview of the Swiss soldier knife, model 1908. One other thing, you can find them with brass rivets. Some of them have, they all have steel liners, but apparently some of them have steel liners that are nickel plated. So different variations. Really cool knife. I can just say that it really feels good in your hand. Just the size of it and the weight of it and the shape of it. And it's really a cool knife, and I can see why it remained like it did for so many years. Okay, I hope that was informative and enjoyable. And if you have any comments, please leave those. Thank you for watching, and happy collecting.